evangelical sex shaming for children.
I mean, I really want to talk about it.
It's just a full show. Jacob has now rescued the audience because it was about to go there, man.
Next season.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. Thank you to our therapy partner, Dirty B, for making this show possible. And now, broadcasting from the churn, that's Dr. Jim, that's Whitney, I'm Nick. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
Hot sauce. Woo. Hot sauce. How's your mouth, Whitney?
My mouth is on fire.
Whitney had some hot sauce on the Patreon section of the show today.
Oh, you recovered?
Not
She's
good.
loving it. How are you feeling right now?
I think I'm avoiding it. So whatever
the thought of
coping
it?
skill that is.
Yeah.
Denial.
So let's continue to talk about it.
When the spice is cognitively activated, that's a very high level.
I think you were accurate when you breathe in. It just reignites the flame.
Yeah,
It's not good.
The event that I went to earlier today, where we were eating a lot of hot sauce.
Oh my God.
And the hottest one, I really was uncomfortable breathing because every time you either inhaled or exhaled, it made it worse.
Yes, that's how I feel. Exhaling or inhaling, it's not good.
And it didn't matter if you breathe through your mouth or your nose, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's all going through.
That was all the same.
That's how I feel about pepper.
Like red bell peppers?
No,
like
pepper.
black pepper.
Like black pepper.
Like,
stuff in a little
you mean like
glass?
chicken flavored ramen noodles?
That's also spicy. We've been over this. It's not the noodles that are spicy. It's the little packet of powder that you put on the
Of
noodles.
spices?
Oh my God! It's
Yes.
not spicy.
Yes, it is. That's what it's
I
for.
want to. You know what? I'm gonna look this up.
It's a spice.
I mean, okay. French fries with salt on them.
Honestly,
By that definition,
go
you
easy
can
on
call
the
that
salt.
spicy.
Yeah, it is.
Because salt is a spice.
It is spicy.
It's not hot.
Well, it hurts. You got to go light on that salt. Yeah, you got to go light on that salt. People just really throw it on there.
I mean, it is better for your blood sugar.
I like to dip
Or
my
your
fries
blood
in
pressure.
my glass of water a couple times. Get all that extra salt off there.
Rinse them.
I like to.
I take my fries. I put them in a dishwasher.
Yeah,
no
yeah.
soap.
Yeah, no, of course
That'd be
not.
silly.
That'd be dumb.
I'm not seeing any spicy.
I would love to hear you
play.
place that order.
Oh, where?
Can I have my
some
fries?
freshly rinsed
I'll
fries.
get them with some salt.
I'm sorry, sir. What?
But sometimes places are just so it really makes me mad whenever you go to like a Applebee's, something like that, and they serve the fries tossed with pepper. That just
that's
what?
weird.
If I wanted pepper, I'll put it on there myself. You've ruined my fries.
Do you
I
send
can't
it
have
back?
this. No, I get ranch.
He just quietly, is sad about it.
Yeah, no, I don't send
Typical
it back. I'm not trying to
millennial.
start problems. Yeah, no, I just
Had the worst service. Thank you.
Thank you.
30% tip.
Yeah,
Reviewed it was the best.
you're not wrong.
I do the same.
Usually the ranch helps, but yeah, I can't do pepper. Or on salad. Do you put pepper on salads?
Oh yeah.
Oh God, that's terrible.
That's always weird to me when people put the pepper on the sandwiches, like Subway sandwiches. Like,
Oh
pepper.
no,
Well,
don't
good,
ever do
I know.
that.
good pepper. There's very little better than actual good pepper.
What do you mean good pepper?
Well, peppercorn is a crop.
Okay.
And
thought
so,
it was
like-
a mineral.
It was not. It's just not.
Isn't it a rock?
No.
Weird.
No, it's a
This is
crop.
a fun game. How do we not spend like the whole time doing
It's a
this with
food.
Jim?
I know.
What
yeah,
else
well,
does
a
Jim
lot
not
of rocks
know?
are food.
Name one.
We need to have like things Jim doesn't know. And that
You were
just
supposed to eat minerals.
Name a rock that's a food.
There's a lot of them. Pop rocks.
I'm waiting on Eddie.
crystal meth.
Crystal meth.
Crystal meth.
No,
Crack
salt,
rocks?
Salt
Crack,
is a
there we go,
rock.
that's what I was trying to-
Salt's a rock.
Rock salt.
Salt is a rock. Yeah, go fuck yourself. I'm right. Salt is a rock.
I believe salt might be a mineral.
What are we doing this smother shit again?
We are.
This
We're
is
on that
just
train.
semantics. I will not stand for this.
I just read the other day that
Peppercorns are a crop, though.
that pepper, if you don't get the peppercorn and like grind it,
Right.
there's something they can add to regular like just ground up pepper that you buy pre-ground.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's something I gotta look it up again because I can't remember what it is right now. But it's like
solid
sand
story,
or
Whitney.
something. It's like something you would not
Gonna
eat.
be
Whitney
Yeah.
tells the best
She
stories.
really does.
I'm gonna come back. Come back to me. I'm like, come back to me.
So we keep because my sister-in-law is Cambodian.
Oh.
And so every time she comes back from Cambodia, she brings bags of Cambodian black pepper. And it looks like just the same peppercorn that you can go buy in the Albertsons down the road.
Okay.
It does not taste that way.
It tastes
We keep it
better?
in we have a pepper grinder that we only use for the Cambodian pepper.
Huh.
and it is delicious. It is so flavorful and rich. You would not believe it.
I can't tell you what the flavor of pepper is except pain.
But there's also all these different types of peppers. Even like table pepper, like grindable peppercorns. You have like black pepper, red peppers, white peppers, green peppercorns.
Wait a minute. These are different things. A green pepper is a vegetable.
No. I'm not talking about a green pepper. I mean a green peppercorn. So the same little peppercorn that you grind down to make like
there's green
pepper. Yeah.
Pepper?
Yeah. Yeah.
Pepper? Paprika?
You can get white peppercorns.
Weird.
It's all different flavors.
And this has been another
Welcome to a
episode
whole
of
new
Jim
world.
Learn Stuff.
Welcome to a whole new world, Jim.
Dang. I won't be having any of it, but
No,
it
we made
sounds
some.
pretty.
I made some stuffed salmon today, and after it came out of the oven, the last thing I did was just sprinkle some nice, fresh Cambodian black pepper on it.
Do you
And
season?
it is delicious.
All right, if it's a barbecue, we're having a barbecue at your house.
Yep.
You get out. Let's say you're just getting out the pre-formed patties.
Okay. So making some burgers.
Making some burgers.
Yeah.
I open the package and I
good,
take those
good.
and
Good
I put
start.
them right on the grill.
Fine.
And we're done now. Now I'll be waiting for that to heat up and then I will flip it.
You don't
And
put
then I
anything on
will-
them?
I do. I put cheese toward the end.
You don't put any kind of spices on there?
I do not.
If I take out the like if I buy frozen hamburger patties,
Yes.
I will go take those out of the freezer. Like there's this brand of frozen hamburger patties that we do buy and we keep in the freezer because they're really good.
The Costco ones are really good too.
The ones I get are from Sam's, but I bet it's the same one.
Yes.
But I'll take those. I'll let them defrost a little bit. I'll still cook them while they're mostly frozen, but I'll let them defrost a little bit because then they get a texture that they can hold a little spice and a little sauce better.
Sauce.
Because one of the things I'll put
The tangy
Chocolate
barbecue.
sauce, some
pepper,
soy sauce on
little
there.
bit of either salt or Cajun spice, which has salt in it,
No. That's
and then some Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire.
You know, the hamburger that I make most often when I'm at home is just pretty much the patty.
Yeah.
Put a little Lowry's seasoning salt on that. And then
I use Tony Chachere's, but Lowry's is a little saltier.
yeah. And
I
then
like the Tony
put,
Chachere's more.
the burger I make has pepper jack cheese.
Yep, good.
This spicy barbecue sauce
Oh no.
and jalapenos.
Oh no. Why? Why?
It's the nosiest pepper. It's jalapeno business.
Jalapeno business.
Wow.
Yeah, super good.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll do a big hamburger patty. The rare times that I make a hamburger, I'm like, if I'm gonna make a hamburger, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna make a fucking hamburger.
Okay.
And I will get 2 different types of beef. I'll get super fatty, like as fatty as I can find,
That's the best.
and mix
burger.
that in with some super lean, and make kind of a little combo there.
Oh, you make your own patty.
I mean, out of 2 different types of ground beef, yes.
Yeah.
I've already made ground beef. I'm not like grinding beef down and doing it, but yeah.
Right.
You didn't raise the cow.
No,
Yeah.
no, I didn't name anything. I didn't name
the
any
cow.
animals.
Yeah. Butcher your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from that point, yes, I make the patty.
Okay.
And then I make a nice big fat patty, and then I put it down on either like a plate or a piece of wax paper or something like that. And I just use my 3 fingers, and I just
Ooh, what
make
do
a
you do
little
with those
divot
Show me how you
into
do
the
it.
middle of
Look
the
at me in the
patty.
eye when you do it.
Yeah,
that's
so I
really
make like
nice.
a little
Like
dip
that. Little prostate
in the
chip.
patty.
Dip.
Yeah.
And
that's how it's done.
then I go to the refrigerator and I get myself an egg.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I crack that egg.
What are you doing?
I separate the egg whites out and I throw the egg whites away because that's vaguely healthy. And so I get rid of that.
Yeah, we don't want that in there.
I use the egg yolk and I just drop that right into that little divot that I've made in the hamburger patty.
Okay.
And then I just mash it all up and make like an egg-soaked hamburger patty.
Okay.
You also put the spices on at that point because then you're mixing up all the spices into it as well.
Yeah.
Put that right on the griddle, little Worcestershire sauce on top after you flip it the first time. So you let the first side cook, flip it. Now you've got a cooked side up while a raw side is cooking on the bottom. You put a little Worcestershire sauce on top of the first cooked side.
Okay.
And let that start to soak in. That also keeps it nice and moist.
Huh.
I know a lot of our listeners
love that
really
word.
like the word moist.
I do, especially when you're doing the prostate exam fingering.
Yep.
I like
Fuck
that.
yeah.
Lots of fingers.
And then you don't have to add any more spice to it because all the spice is all folded into the meat already.
Wow.
And then like you flip it one more time. As that last bit is cooking, you put the cheese on top so it melts and everything. I usually either use a Swiss or like the sharpest cheddar I can find.
Huh. That does sound really
So,
good.
so-
and forbidden in Leviticus for sure.
Yeah.
Matt and Lisa.
Oh, it is an
Tangeman,
abomination.
Milk and meat.
According to Leviticus, it is an abomination.
You want to make a burger that will send you to hell.
I hope you're listening.
It's worse
Oh,
than
Matt and
shellfish.
Lisa are listening.
Yeah.
They're listening.
Yeah, this is some good information. Please write in and tell us what we're doing wrong with our food, because they own a food truck
Oh, do they?
down in Mobile, Alabama, outside Mobile, Alabama.
Ah,
All right.
that's cool.
So,
yeah,
yes.
we'd like to
They
know how
all-
to make correct
They
burgers.
know all about meats.
I
They're all
wondered.
about that meat.
Jacob said the griddle, so you use like just the. You're not on a grill.
If I'm outside, I'm on a grill.
Okay.
Although I'm about to get an outdoor griddle as well. We
those
have, we
are
have an
great.
indoor. We have
that
an indoor
Blackstone
griddle.
one or
That's
whatever.
what we're getting.
Oh,
Yeah.
those look so cool.
Yeah, we're gonna get one of those.
Those are really neat.
I feel
was
like
gonna
that's
get
the
the
best
Sam's
burger.
Club because Sam's Club has a pretty nice griddle as well, but the and it's like $200 cheaper.
Oh, wow.
But the Blackstone that's the same size gets a lot hotter,
Oh.
Yeah.
and so I'm spending the extra money and getting the Blackstone.
I almost
to get the
got
extra
one of
heat.
those, but it is pricey. It is
Yeah.
pricey, but boy, it's worth it though.
For
'cause
those
you do
frozen
See, what I
patties.
don't have are children.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Well,
So instead
Hey,
of children, I get
Yeah,
Blackstone
that's
griddles.
pretty cool.
If we learned anything from Jim's health story, neither does Jim.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Again, you don't have to know how things work in order to enjoy them. Okay? This is true of many things.
Wait, how
And
old's
women.
your oldest? Hold on, how old's your oldest?
13.
Just saying, you're 14 when you're going through health.
Yeah, you know, you add it all up. All right, welcome everybody. I don't
Nick
know what the
Whitney
hell
and I
this show is anymore.
teach your children health class.
They'll learn it in school.
Oh my God, do not.
They don't need me.
They'll learn
Do
it on the
not. I work
streets.
with juvenile sex offenders. Don't do that.
All right, all right, that's the Patreon level to have Nick Whitney and I teach
Develop
Yeah.
a
sex ed
course.
to Jim's children.
There's a number.
Yes.
There's always a number.
It's going to be videoed.
Oh,
We'll blur out their
somebody-
faces when we publish the video, but the video is getting published.
oh God. There's always a number. All right, welcome to Pod Therapy, a show that
Also,
used
on
to
the
be
video
about
is
mental health.
Also, the video is going to have Jim's face, just his expressions as you see
Live
us saying
reaction
things.
Jim in a sound booth as I'm like banging my fists and just projectile vomiting on the glass. That's not true. Those things don't
That's
happen.
not what that's for.
I don't think.
As far as I
According to what I
know.
remember reading in the book of John. All right. Well, we got some great questions today. We should probably move on to those.
I don't know. I'm having a good time.
Welcome to Pod Therapy. Don't forget you can grab all that extra content at patreon.com/therapy. A lot of it we are referencing here. It's a good time. This is a good one to jump in at that dollar level and pick up that extra hour of content.
You may be
It's
saying to
fun.
yourself, they say that every week, and you're right.
You're right. Yeah, we strive to make all of them listenable. All right, first question, inevitable breakup from Anonymous. Hey, Pod Therapy team. Oh, that was another thing, Whitney. I did the hot sauce, and then I had to read questions.
Oh,
it was
They made you
awful.
do that?
Yeah, I think we did it in Patreon. It was awful. I feel like she's not being sincere.
I'm just kidding. I am somewhat.
I
No.
think she's being very
I think
sincere.
patronizing
I
and
think you're being patronizing.
I was, and I was like, you know what? That would fucking suck. That would be horrible.
Right after Patreon.
Right after. If it were
was
right after.
bad.
Like right now, I feel okay.
Whatever. I don't need your damn pity.
You want me to read it?
No,
Can I-
hey, you're the one with the hot sauce mouth. Hey,
on, go
Pod
on.
Therapy team. My long-term relationship has run its course, and we both know it. It's turned into more of a roommate situation, and I've overheard don't just me.
I think you meant judge.
Probably not. Oh, yeah. And I've overheard don't judge me. My partner talk to his friends and say the same thing. The relationship has turned into a friendship, and he just feels we want different things in our lives. Here's the dilemma. We also both kind of use the same excuse. We have a house and 2 dogs together, and after 10 years together, we're both just comfortably complacent. It's funny to hear him tell his friends very similar excuses I use as to why he stays. So we both know it's run its course and feel the same way, but we don't tell each other. I don't think out of malice, but we don't want to hurt each other, and frankly, we have a good thing going. It's not romantic love, but we do deeply care and enjoy each other's company. I know I'm not actively looking or craving a new relationship, and I don't think he is either. We plan to put the house on the market in 2 years, so he's thinking that might be a good time to finally break up. So besides the internal laugh we both feel the same way, should I force the topic? Or, knowing in 2 years we're both kind of thinking that's a good excuse to have the talk, do I just let the relationship run its course? P.S. Knowing I have 2 years, what should I work on for myself? Getting back into the dating pool, or at least being available, is scary. As always, love the podcast and the banter. Thanks, Anonymous. See, people like our banter. We have nice banter.
They do.
We have good banter.
They didn't say they liked all the banter.
They did not say that. You know what?
They just enjoyed at least some of the banter.
Are you eating chocolate?
He's trying to get rid of that spice.
He's trying to smother it so it can be a sauce.
This chocolate is really... Actually, do you want some, Whitney? It's doing the trick.
Yes.
Oh, that's like English chocolate, isn't it?
That's fancy chocolate.
That's real milk.
She was giving you the evil eye the whole
I was
time
like,
you were opening that package.
Jacob's got chocolate.
It's over there licking it
It was in the
slowly.
refrigerator, too.
It was. I was like, it won't break.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So this is a really good question. I mean, okay, so there's...
Should I stay or should I go?
There's a lot of questions within the question.
Yeah.
Meta question.
So
Inception question.
both parties kind of know, or at least the writer believes that the other person's on the same page, has good evidence to believe that they are on the same page.
Yeah.
Is there advantage to dealing with it now or just waiting?
Do you say something? Do you wait for it to end in 2 years? And what are our thoughts about a relationship that is strong in some areas? And the writer says that, like, look, we don't hate each other. We're getting along. We're very close. We have a good thing going. And yet it's lost that spark and we've become roommates.
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this question. I think it really kind of has to do with, you know, what works best for you, because some other couple in this exact same situation, maybe what's going to work for them isn't going to work for you, and vice versa. I guess for me personally, if I'm in this situation, I know that this is coming to an end, and it's very unlikely that anything is going to change or make this better. I'm kind of more of the mindset of, why are we waiting 2 years? Let's just deal with this now. We both get along now. So why not, you know,
I bet you can
amicably?
have a pleasant not a pleasant conversation about it, but a civil conversation about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're getting along right now, yep.
Yeah, as opposed to, let's stick together, both of us knowing that this is over. Let's stick together for 2 more years. And after 2 years of us not having that relationship,
Now trusting future us.
right, and then now it's
To
like...
do it amicably.
Exactly. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it. But, I mean, again, that's not to say that that's the right way. Maybe that's, you know...
I agree with Nick, but I think for different reasons.
Okay.
My thought is not so much it does kind of lend to how much you're going to trust, you know, future you a year from now.
Okay.
You and your significant other are going to, at some point in the next couple of years, even if you're just behaving as roommates, have a blow-up fight about something.
Okay.
You're both going to have a bad day, you're going to come home, and you're going to have a blow-up fight about something. And if you are both in the headspace of, I don't care about this relationship, I don't care about this person, that fight is going to do some damage. That's like real damage is going to happen at some point down the road.
All right.
I would
see
bet.
That point. I see that point.
And so
Preemptive breakup to avoid...
not even necessarily a breakup,
Okay.
but like
Save yourself.
at the very least a defining.
Okay.
Yeah, because you don't have to necessarily end the relationship now. But you can have the conversation.
Let's
Call it what it is.
like, hey, let's speak. Like, I feel like I feel like we've both reached a different point in our lives. I feel like we are treating this relationship differently. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what this relationship
That's
is now.
interesting.
Yeah, let's... The elephant's in the room.
Yeah.
Let's just bring it up. We both know it's
Like, hey,
there. Let's just
I've
have a
heard you
conversation.
say to your friends that you think of us more as roommates and more as friends than you do as romantic partners. I'm sorry, I just overheard that. I don't disagree with you entirely. Let's talk through this.
And then you can plan out the next 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, so then it's both of you making
I mean, it
that
could
decision.
still be like, hey, we still care for each other. We've hashed all this out. Like we've talked about some things. We have an open dialogue going.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody meets somebody in the next 6 months, you know, that lays the groundwork a little bit for that as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like pro communication. I mean, sometimes there's the downside of like, oh, are we upsetting the apple cart? Like,
Right.
things are good enough, maybe unsaid. But I mean, what do you think about some of this, Whitney?
Yeah. The hot sauce. The chocolate helped. Thanks. Going on. Yeah, one of my first thoughts was definitely kind of along the lines of what Nick and Jacob were saying, where, again, personally, I feel like time is something that you don't get back. You know, we're in this world, and if you're saying wait 2 years, I mean, maybe it is still a 2-year plan. That's fine, but at least you're choosing that. You're making a conscious choice, not just let's wait and see what the next 2 years brings, and then we'll have a talk about it.
It's kind of like the 2 years, like you're spending those 2 years in the driver's seat instead of in the passenger seat, like just waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, you're in a little more control.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take a little side angle and kind of ask y'all your thoughts on what you think about. I'm going to trust them in this actual question, but just for other listeners that might come at a similar but different angle. When they say inevitable breakup, I'm sure they have, gone through all of the things to say, all right, this relationship has run its course. But what are your thoughts on if all the other things are there, we get along, we have this life built together, we enjoy each other's company, it's just not romantic. What are your thoughts on the ability to build romance back into a relationship or talk about that? What are your personal thoughts, really? It's not a right or wrong.
Responses to that. Because
there's a right or wrong.
This is an angle that
there
I
is,
think
and we'll
we
find
don't
it
talk
today.
enough about.
Jim's about to say the wrong one.
Probably. I like that as a society, we are changing some of our definitions of what a successful long-term relationship is.
Okay.
Because I think in past generations, we saw relationships as a way to form a family, own property, just past generational wealth. It was a safety net. That was the point. And so, like, if it didn't have romance, if it didn't have flair, you were an unreasonable person for wanting that. If you went to your family in the 1850s and said, we just don't have that spark anymore, Mom, your mom's going to look at you like, great, I don't care.
Don't fucking care.
What are you going to do? Go marry the
they
other
gave us
person
5
down the
sheep
street?
for you.
Right, yeah. You guys own a farm and you're raising 10 kids. Like, what are you trying to talk to me about? Like, it's just, these are irrelevant things. Yeah. So as we've modernized, I think we have, and this is part of like the individual mandate of like humans, can pursue happiness or whatever. And so, like, now we have these higher expectations of what our relationships are meant to do. And some therapists, like Esther Perel, have argued we now have gone the other direction where we've hyper-individualized things. And it's like, look, what have you done for me lately? And like the concept of long-term commitment is not as appealing as it once was because we're always scrutinizing these relationships based on how my happiness index is today, whether you're blowing my socks off in bed, what direction we're going in. And it's constantly this referendum, right? So I think that's an interesting conversation to have to like qualify this predicament the writer finds himself in. Like, look, if any human tells me in therapy, Jim, I'm unhappy in my relationship, I'm here to talk about that, and I'm considering ending my relationship. I'm not going to talk them out of it.
Right,
not at all.
Right.
But I am going to educate them about things like Sternberg's triangle theory of love. And like, okay, so here's Sternberg, and he's saying, hey, there's kind of like 3...
That song's from 86, right?
87.
Yeah, that was a good song.
Yeah, it was a real good one.
Yeah,
it came in a little bit later.
Yeah.
But, Sternberg says, okay, a relationship
triangle
has...
of love!
86 was a good year.
It was a good year. It was 87, though. So the 3 big ingredients Sternberg talks about is passion, sexual passion, friendship, intimacy, closeness, connection, and then the last one being commitment, like that sense of like bond, duty to self, like I'm there for you no matter what. So Sternberg says if you have all 3 elements at the same time, he categorizes that as what's called consummate love. It has everything, right? It's all the things. If you only have 2 of them, he has different names for that. And there's a name for what the writer's talking about here, when you only have friendship, intimacy, and then you also have commitment, but you don't have passion. And Sternberg calls that companionate love. And in his book, Sternberg talks about how that is a natural part of most relationships' life cycles. You usually have high passion in the beginning because evolution would like you to partner with this person despite low evidence that you're going to make it. Yeah. And then that will wane. And then the other 2 things will take over to maintain the relationship for long-term goals. And he didn't villainize that. He just said, nope, that's just the thing. And if you would like to, reinvigorate passion, that's a good question. Can you, coming back to your original question, can you reinfuse passion? But I just want to take a beat to normalize that companionate love is a real model of a relationship, and it's not wrong.
I guess to kind of answer Whitney's question, I think Yeah, I mean, if that is your goal, or even if it's not, if that's just like, oh, that'd be nice, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
Either way, I don't think it happens without talking about it.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's going to happen in the dark. I think it's going to be
It's going to
something-
happen in the dark.
Maybe.
Maybe a red light.
It's got to
Some
happen.
dark
Well, a
night.
little red
Some
light.
dark.
It's got to happen in the light first.
Yeah.
And then, you know,
Well, if you're brave.
yeah.
It'll happen for you in the light, okay? Not all of us go to the gym 3 days a week.
So I guess, you know, you have to be able to talk about that. And I think if you actually open up that line of communication and you kind of have that conversation about where are we at and is this something we want to try to maintain, or should we just, you know, go our separate ways and part ways amicably? I think by having that conversation, maybe that does kind of spark, you know, some interest again. But I don't think it happens by just not addressing it or not talking about
So
it.
Esther Perel, who I referenced earlier, has a book called Mating in Captivity.
Yeah.
And in her book, she talks about eroticism having an inverse relationship to familiarity. So she says relationships become less erotic over time because they become increasingly familiar. And she doesn't say that's bad. She says, no, but familiarity is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Like, look at all these amazing things you have access to through familiarity, through bonding and connection that you honestly have to earn, and you can't just pick up with other people, right? So she talks about that investment, but she talks about how most relationships lose eroticism over time because it's not sexy.
Yeah.
Like, what's sexy is not knowing 100% whether your partner wants you or will pick you or what they're going to do or what they look like or how they're thinking right now. It's the strangeness and being desired and pursued and both people not knowing each other that makes it sexy.
Yeah.
So I do think in her book, she talks about, yes, you can recapture that.
Yeah.
But Nick's right, like with a form of communication, even though she talks about that being dangerous too, because you could over talk it and, you know, she calls
Then
it
that's not sexy.
failing to fuck. The book says,
okay.
don't over talk and fail to fuck. And it's like, okay. I like her a lot.
I
She's
do
really
too.
fun.
She is great.
So what do you think, Whitney? I mean, do you think that passion can be rediscovered in a long-term relationship that's lost that zest?
I think so. Personally, I think that, you know, it does take effort and it does take communication. But I think there's value there, especially in today's modern world where we do have options to like pursue new hobbies and become more mysterious again to our partners in a lot of ways. Like, I think taking on new endeavors is a way that we kind of see our partners in a new light again. It's like, oh, they're doing this now, or oh,
They join a bowling league.
they're a good bowler.
Yeah, they pick up the 7-10 split, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa.
He's in hot sauce
He plays
contest.
bass guitar now.
Oh, that's
Look
right.
at that.
No, definitely that. It's definitely
It's the
starting a
bass
cover
guitar.
band in your 40s.
Yeah.
That's what's hot right now.
Yeah.
That's what
Like,
everybody's into.
Don't y'all think so? If your partner were to be like, "Oh, I'm learning a new language," or
Yeah.
like, picking up a new instrument, or just
sure.
it doesn't even have to be anything crazy. Just like,
Yeah.
I want to go make pottery. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of
You lost
exciting
me at pottery,
again.
Whitney, but you were doing really good up to that.
They took me to a sex ed class.
Oh man, I'm gonna go outside. I'm not
Health
okay.
class sucks.
Dad's friends taught us a sex ed class.
For the right Patreon amount. Yes. Yes, there's always a number. No, but I agree with you. I think that their
$2.
strangeness is good. It's
very low.
Recapturing that way, yes. And also, I think couples can intentionally explore sexuality for their relationship. And there's a lot of programs out there that really speak to that. And Nick did a great interview on Patreon with a sex therapist and definitely discussed like, hey, sexuality long-term, like, is this something? And there was a really neat study that I just saw the other day. It talked about like sex doesn't expire. Like, you know, sexuality, we shouldn't just default assume that it won't matter. It can and often does. And I still want to normalize relationships that aren't doing it all the time or whatever. So what are we advising this person? Because I like the theory of communicate. I like the theory of don't sit on this for 2 years and wait for it to naturally disintegrate, as I don't like to ignore something you perceive as a problem.
Yeah, because I also don't like the idea of we wait 2 years and then we get to that point and we're like, all right, so this is over, right? And then the other person's like, wait, what?
Right.
What are we talking about? You know,
And
it
also
gets caught off guard.
underestimating how easy it is to walk away. A lot
Yeah.
of people think, oh, I'll just leave these other two pieces of the triangle behind as I go seek that one I'm missing. And then
Yeah.
as soon as you start to do that, your heart breaks and you go, oops, never mind. I'm in love with you. We weren't banging a lot.
Yeah.
And so then you realize like, oh, we should work on this, right?
I mean,
and that
the,
matters.
the other thing too is that leads into the second question, which is, you know, what should I do to prepare myself to get back into the dating pool?
Yeah.
I'd love to
I was
see the
curious about
writer-
Nick's response to that.
Oh, since he's lived through it,
This is actually interesting because
play a lot of golf.
so we have to
It's a really good
and,
golfer.
and get a bass guitar.
Yeah.
But we do these deep dives or extra content every Monday.
Yep.
Jim does one, then I do one,
I've
then
really
Jim
got
does
to
one.
sign up for Patreon.
Yeah.
It's the only way you're going to hear any of it.
You're on the show. We could
Yeah.
probably just
I
arrange it.
I'll pay
We're
my
not
dollar.
going to,
No.
but
I'll pay my
I don't know how to do
$5.
things. You kidding me?
but so I actually I have this on my list as the next thing that I'm going to talk about.
Oh,
Oh,
great.
cool.
Yeah, because I did think about it and I was like, having gone through that and as terrible as that was in the moment,
It was a challenge, I remember.
it was
The listener may
incredibly
not know what you're
challenging.
referring to.
So I gonna make a joke, but I won't. I went through a divorce many years ago, and it was really difficult, really tough, and it was challenging. But man, did I learn a lot from it.
Right.
I mean, it was incredibly useful, and this is the other thing too, is like getting back into the dating pool.
Mm-hmm.
Like one thing for me, and I'm not going to give you the whole thing because I've learned enough about this that I got to put some of this behind the paywall.
Okay.
But the free content that I'm going to give you is that for me, a lot of it had to do with understanding my own value.
Yeah.
That was the hardest part because I don't know, we were together for like 10, 11 years, something like that. And in those 10 to 11 years, I really, truly believed that she was the best thing ever.
Right. I'm the
And
lucky one.
Yes.
I married
And
up.
Wow. Yeah. I totally married up. I'll never be able to
Right.
find
I
anybody
better
like this
every
ever
day.
again.
I got to show her. Stick around. I'm awesome. I'll hang in there for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that makes the ending of that relationship so scary.
That's devastating.
Because then you're like, oh my God, it's over.
Yeah.
I'm never going to have this
The
again.
jig is up.
This is
Yeah.
terrible.
Yep.
And now looking back, I'm like, oh man, no. Like
Right.
I had so much more to offer than I thought I did.
Right.
Like I really devalued myself in that relationship.
Yes.
And now that it's over, then I realize like, oh wow, yeah, okay, this is amazing. And I thought I would never meet anybody as amazing, but then it's like pretty much every woman I dated after that was
Right.
amazing.
Wonderful person.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's so many amazing people out there.
Right.
Too. You think like you found the only good person out of 8 billion people on the planet.
Right.
You found the one.
Yeah.
Like, no, statistically that's impossible.
Right.
They're not even the best person on the block.
Right.
probably.
Right.
I mean,
Or the
so-
best drummer in the Beatles.
Yeah. I mean, so I mean, there's a lot more to that, and so I think that's a big part of it. And this is again why I think it's good to have this conversation now, because the other thing too is like, okay, so you wait 2 years, the relationship ends. Okay, now you start your healing
Right.
at that point, as opposed to talking about it right now,
Right.
making a decision right now, and then just getting on with it.
And that's actually my advice is I'd want to see this person. So writer, I want to see you do what Nick and Jacob said, which is to sit with your partner and start with a candid conversation, kind of how Jacob auditioned of like, hey, I think I've overheard you saying this. I think I've had similar feelings. Let's broach the topic. But then I'd really love to see the two of you end up in therapy. And look, I know we always promote therapy on the show, obviously. But like in this case, this is not something that I don't want to treat. Like if I'm a therapist, you come in and I'll go, great, what am I here to do? Am I here to help you revitalize what's missing? Because I'm a couples therapist. I am happy to work on that. That is well within my scope. Or if you say, look, we think we're at the end of this, but we want to hospice this 10-year relationship. We want you to bring us to a gentle end because we have this relationship deserves that. We care deeply for each other, and we know there's so much potential for, people that are breaking up to be hurtful. And boy, do we not want to do that. As a therapist, I am happy to bring a relationship to an end and to accelerate the grieving process, do it productively, facilitate that 2-year landmark that's coming up so that you guys can end on a high note and in a way that is basically conscious uncoupling. And that, by the way, writer, might be a book you want to look into, which is a book about how relationships can come to a natural end in a way that's graceful and forgiving and kind, but just acknowledges that this relationship is complete. It's run its course. We have reached our end. Here's our reasons why. And then to do that in a meaningful and conciliatory way. Great book, Conscious Uncoupling. But I'd love to see you take this to therapy because there's so many directions that need to be explored.
Yep.
Great question.
Yeah.
Really great. Write us back. Let us know more about what you end up deciding, especially if the story gets good.
I think that's a good concept too. That not all relationships have to last forever.
No.
You know.
No. And really great book, by the way. If you've never picked it up,
I haven't.
That's
I will.
a really great book.
Okay.
It's an awesome one. And it comes with a really great therapist guide as well
Conscious
to bring
uncoupling.
conscious uncoupling. Yeah. I'm going to be doing a deep dive on it when I finish it, but it's really, really good.
Cool.
Of course, you
I
won't
will.
hear it because you're not on the Patreon.
Nope. I
I'll
haven't paid my
email you the
$5.
file.
Will you? Do I have to give you $5? I'm just gonna.
Yes. Per time. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're talking about, does understanding reduce your symptoms? You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Robert Brownie Jr., Mintz, Kayla Lansbury, Cindy Ash, Kevin Chamberlain, Ben Stanley, Adam Hathaway, Myra, Lit, Heyo, and Slurpee Kaye Motherfucker. Would you like to sponsor the show? Become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. All right, we got some trivia today that was sent in, and as soon as I load it on my computer, because I forgot to do that, I will tell you what it is. And it is from Alyssa. We have finally left Death Valley,
Oh, Alyssa and Chris.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
and they're traveling back across the country to good old state of Indiana,
Oh wow.
The other Death Valley.
along the coast where they do all the surfing.
Yeah, we've gone over this.
Yep,
I was
I
proven
know.
right. There are beach
All right.
towns in Indiana.
We're stopping in Iowa, yay,
Oh.
off the I-80 at the world's largest truck stop. So here's some trivia questions about it.
Oh my god.
All
About the truck stop?
About the truck stop. The I-80 truck stop.
If Nick doesn't
Gas.
win,
Final answer.
Flying J.
Question number 1. Which of the following are not located at the I-80 world's largest truck stop in Iowa?
Oh,
So I'm guessing it's just one.
okay.
A, duck pin bowling.
Okay.
B, movie theater. C, dentist office. D, vintage truck museum. Or E, chiropractor.
Wow.
I'm going
Gosh.
dentist.
That feels like a good guess.
Feels like the obvious choice.
I
I'm
feel like
probably
a
wrong.
movie theater has
I
no
was gonna guess
business,
movie theater first.
But you know what? Now that there are Teslas, it kind of makes sense.
Oh,
Right? Because it's like,
it's
oh, I'm
30
on
minutes
E.
or more.
Yeah, so go watch a movie because
Yeah.
like that car is not going anywhere for a long time.
All right. All right.
I'm going to go duck pin bowling.
Oh, that's definitely there, man. In Iowa, they live on that shit.
I had never
What
heard
is?
of duck pin
I'm like,
bowling.
what
Because
is
you're not
duck
from
pin?
Iowa.
They like the pins are shaped like ducks or what?
That's just little.
No,
That's
that
just
was
little
it.
bowling.
They're corkscrew shaped.
Ugh,
Yeah.
Are we doing
like,
this now?
like duck penises.
What? I'm
Guys,
like, what?
again, I can't talk anatomy. It makes me very uncomfortable.
All right. What are the options?
I'm going
Duck
movie
pin
theater.
bowling,
Your movie theater. Okay.
movie theater, dentist office, vintage truck museum, or chiropractor.
Like
All right.
chiropractor
Chiropractor's
seems
definitely
obvious.
there.
I'm going to show
Oh,
my
for a
math.
truck stop?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to
that's
show
it.
my math.
Okay,
It's the world's largest truck stop.
Yes.
it is.
So this is like Mall of America type truck stop.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I bet they have duck pin bowling.
Okay.
Because if nothing else, they look at that and they go, here's a thing that doesn't take up a ton of room, and it's a weird, kind of quirky little thing
Yeah.
that we can have because we're the largest fucking truck stop out there.
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay.
So
it's
I
a
think
flex.
duck pin bowling is there.
Yes.
Okay.
What was B?
Movie
Movies.
theater.
Movie theater is definitely there.
You
There's a
think
movie
so?
theater. Yep.
All right.
No problem. It might not be
Cineplex
huge.
up in this
There might
bitch?
be like 15 seats, 20 seats.
That's true. A small one.
Yeah, so like a small movie theater.
Okay.
Give truckers a spot to kind of relax a little bit for a couple hours before they get back on the road.
Okay.
So I think movie theater in.
All right.
Number 3,
Dentist office.
dentist office is there.
You
They've got a
think
dentist
You're
office.
going no on the chiropractor?
They've got
No,
a
there's one more.
Oh,
chiropractor. Chiropractor is there.
What else is left?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say they don't have the vintage truck museum.
That was oddly specific, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
That was oddly specific.
okay.
What did you say?
I'm taking movie theater.
Dentist.
Okay, I got duck pin bowling.
Yeah, and I've got the museum.
We all agree the chiropractor's there.
Chiropractor has to be there.
And that guy is charging a fortune.
Yep.
Because you're pulling up and he's like $1,000 a minute. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're
I
gonna pay.
need-
You're paying
Yeah.
that.
You're paying
You
that.
need an adjustment or not? Like,
Your
I need
back's
an
fucked
adjustment.
up.
The winner, obviously, is me.
What? What'd you pick? Duck pin bowling?
Iowa.
bowling.
Freaking
That's
Iowa.
bowling?
Not there?
Well, you're living up to your.
Iowa,
your-
get your shit together.
yeah.
No,
Come on.
no. And here's my logic behind
Never
that
be a
is
real
because
society.
they probably just have bowling.
They might have full bowling.
Yeah.
Oh,
They just
Alyssa, if
specify-
you fucked us with this, If you, I'll be pissed. If it's like, haha, it was real bowling. Like, you know what? No.
Alyssa, feel free to write in and say that it was real bowling. Just to make I don't care if there's real bowling or not.
Yeah, just
I'm
do
not
it.
going to fact check it.
I will be furious. No. Oh, don't let it be that.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Where's this truck stop at? It's in Iowa?
Yeah, it's the I-80 truck stop.
The hell is
the
the biggest truck
largest?
stop in Iowa? Why is that?
because it's
there?
on Interstate 80, which is like, it's a very popular interstate.
It's
The
like a hub?
crossroads.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
goes like, I mean, it goes through Chicago, goes through Des Moines, Omaha.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
Does it go through Denver? Yeah,
Denver.
you kinda have to
Everything
go
does
through, yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like it.
All right.
It all goes through Denver.
Everything eventually goes through Denver. Does understanding reduce symptoms? From Anonymous. Hi, guys. First, I want to say I'm a recent listener after seeing the Reddit AMA. Oh, welcome.
Woohoo.
Always glad to have newbies. I started from the beginning, and it's safe to say I'm hooked. I just finished with episode number 12, which featured guest Jake Wiskerson, who brought some really great perspectives and knowledge. Jake does bring lots of great perspectives. In the episode, he notes that he is not into symptom treatment, he's into problem resolution, etc. Conceptually, I'm on board, but the sentence that really sticks out, and I just can't reconcile, is this. But what if we start talking about, for example, what do you want to be when you grow up? Where are you going in life? Give it a sense of meaning. Then the symptoms just fly away. There's a noise that I interpret to mean go away. Whee! Thank you. I heard a similar mentality from my first therapist, whose approach was very Jungian inspired as well. I left after some time because there was no real indication for myself that progress was being made. Now I'm an engineer and scientist, and I can admit that turning off my logic brain can be really difficult. So the irony is not lost on me for this part. But as I understand it, we can trace many behaviors and unhelpful thought patterns to real biological symptoms, such as the parasympathetic or sympathetic nervous system, or the regulation or non-regulation of the limbic system by the prefrontal cortex. We can also couple in lessons from books like Atomic Habits and Power of Habit, or classes like Learning How to Learn that demonstrate the habits and behaviors we form are literally entrenched in our brain as neurological pathways. And the more we repeat the behavior or enforce it, the larger these pathways become, shifting from metaphorical backroads to efficient highways. In cognitive behavioral therapy methods, it looks like we hijack these existing pathways and redirect or substitute the unhelpful part. This seems related to neuroplasticity and a very practical, actionable approach. So the hard time I have is this. Is it highly likely symptom, disorders, behaviors are derived from something deeper that we are either aware of or not aware of? No disagreement there. We can see those symptoms biologically established and reinforced over time. But according to Jake, your guest, we can acknowledge the deep thing and poof, all of these biologically entrenched things just stop? This seems unlikely and far more binary than plastic. Will our brain really ignore these pathways? What happens to those pathways if it does? Sorry for the book, but thank you so much for what you do, Mike. So it wasn't anonymous. I'm going to summarize that question if it's okay.
Thank you.
I think I can. I think I can summarize and recap it.
Right now I'm at a yes, but let's hear the summary.
All right, yeah, good. Way to weigh in early on that just in case. I hear Mike asking, so Jake had discussed the theory of therapy, and Jake was saying when you have the symptoms or the problem behavior, you can dig underneath that tree to the root, and it's going to be this deeper thing. And Jake's approach was, if you can extinguish that root problem, the other stuff will also go. So if you're fighting the alien horde, kill the mothership, and all the little drones will fall too. That was Jake's approach. And Mike's saying, that seems interesting because some of that symptom stuff sort of seems backed up by biological science or neuroplasticity stuff. And what are we doing when we're trying to change like behaviors? And so that's, I think Mike's asking for our opinions about how you treat problems in therapy.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I have to kind of, do you remember that
Episode 12?
Yeah.
Buddy, I don't remember episode whatever the hell was the last one.
Yeah. Okay. Because
What episode is this, Jim?
It's written at the top.
You're already
I was
doing,
like,
Oh, is it at
81?
the top?
you're
I was
already
like-
doing better than I
I was
thought
like,
you
Nick
would.
writes
Wow,
it
do
on
you
the...
always do
It's
this?
281.
Do you always write
Yeah,
it at the
I was like,
top?
I
I
think
do.
281.
Jeez, you are good at this.
It's like he's done it for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like I've done it for 281 episodes.
Damn. That's a lot of episodes.
So I'll be honest, I don't really remember that conversation. I don't remember Jake's stance on that. So I mean, just going off of what Mike's recollection of that, which Mike listened to it more recently than I did. So I believe you, Mike.
Jake is pretty Jungian.
Yeah, seems that way. And so I don't necessarily know if I agree with Jake on that. I kind of feel more on Mike's side with that. But, you know, I mean, from my perspective, the thing that I talk a lot about in the trainings that I do, for substance abuse counselors or substance use counselors is the idea that our two main goals that we're trying to accomplish is decreasing symptoms and improving functioning.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything that we're doing should focus on one of those two things. Right. So, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we solve the problem.
Right.
It means we sometimes learn to coexist with the problem,
Mm-hmm.
or which ultimately decreases the symptoms we experience. You know, Jim has talked about his anxiety. We're not going to cure Jim's anxiety.
Right.
What we're going to do is we're going to find a way that Jim can coexist with anxiety so that the anxiety no longer has that kind of control and influence. So therefore we're decreasing the symptoms and we're improving Jim's ability to function within that system. Right. So I guess that's kind of more my philosophy with that. And so I agree with a lot of what you're saying. The other thing too is like, Jake's theory, and I'm not to shit all over Jake. I'm sure he's got his opinions, and he's probably right about a lot of stuff. I think one of the things too is like I just kind of came up in a different school of thought.
Yeah.
We focused a lot on solution-focused behavioral therapy, and to kind of give you a metaphor of what that would be like, if you were driving a car and you were hauling this trailer. And this trailer is just too heavy and you've got too much stuff in there and it's destroying your engine. You're not going to make it to your destination if you continue to haul this trailer. The Jungian philosophy, or even Freud or any of that school, would say, okay, we're going to pull over. We're going to go into this trailer and we're going to look and try to figure out what's the heavy part here. And let's explore that and let's see what we can do to eliminate this problem. Whereas the solution-focused brief therapy approach is let's unhitch the trailer.
Right.
And so we don't have to understand everything about this situation. We just need to learn how to find a way to coexist with it.
Right.
So I guess that's kind of more my philosophy and thought on it.
So this definitely opens up this conversation of like psychotherapy theories. And when we were all in grad school, we were learning about all the different approaches, right? And they were teaching us, here's what Freud thinks, and here's what psychodynamics are, and here's what Carl Jung thinks. And then we start getting into things like Carl Rogers and person-centered approaches and Albert Ellis and on and on and on, Fritz Perls. And then you get into really modern stuff and, you talk about cognitive behavioral therapy and things like that. And then, different schools even get into like systems theory and stuff like that. So I think on the show, whenever in some of the first episodes, Whitney, that we had you on, I think you did share a little bit about some of your general approaches. Mm-hmm. But I think this is a good question that sort of invites like weighing in on like how you see problem, your role as a therapist, and what you're trying to kind of do and how you want to approach solutions. So weigh in on that. How do you kind of approach it?
Yeah, it's funny that Nick mentioned SFBT. Did you train in that when you were
in graduate school?
Yeah, same. They really, that was
it was really big when we were.
It must have been, yeah, because that was my primary training, and it was very valuable for. I hate wording it like this, but in my mind, it was valuable for more surface level issues. Sure. If I had a person who came in who was in a major depressive episode, it was more challenging to use that with them. I'm like, let's utilize some CBT.
Yeah, it's not indicated for all issues.
Yes, it is not. But it is very helpful. I still incorporate it a lot in my sessions, even if it's not the primary modality that I choose to use. I was, listening to you guys read that question, and my first thoughts were, it kind of depends on the client for me. If them talking through some things and realizing an issue, sometimes that can be really helpful. Like it almost just acknowledging the issue does help them sort of like, oh, that's why I do this. And they can almost move on from that instead of like, why am I making the decisions I'm making?
Right.
Why am I acting the way I'm acting? And finding a root of that can be helpful to, I wouldn't say like poof, everything flies away, but maybe help. However, majority of clients I work with, I get a lot of, once we've discovered where that comes from, they're like, oh my gosh, that's where it came from. What now?
Right.
Like,
Now what?
They want to know how to move forward. That isn't a fix-all, be-all, end-all.
Right.
You know, how do I now make new pathways? Or, yeah. That's what they're searching for, at least.
Yeah.
I think it's super helpful. Yeah, and like this is something that there's currently in our profession sort of an interesting renaissance debate about like psychodynamics versus like, so like psychodynamic theories generally are very interested in like, what are you not aware of, right? Like what is this unconscious part of you, the shadow self? And like that's what a lot of their work is focused on, is like getting to that. And the theory is, hey, the more you become aware of that, the more it's going to resolve the visible problems that we can see in your life, the things that brought you into therapy. Then you have, I guess, a contrasting theory that I feel builds upon psychodynamics. I don't think it's a rebuttal of psychodynamics if you really get into the history of it, but are different in the sense that they're more treating the problem, right? So cognitive behavioral therapy says, hey, maybe the reason you have anxiety isn't going to be something we discover back in your childhood or in an unconscious self. Maybe the reason is your perspective in the now is really inaccurate, and maybe we can teach you how to right size that perspective and confront that fear in the moment. And then that's going to change your sympathetic nervous system into your parasympathetic nervous system, into your neutral mode, and you will not experience the strength of anxiety that you were before therapy, right? Yeah. So there are these two different kind of contrasting theories about how to treat the problem. The interesting, I think, pieces of this go all the way back to when our profession was starting to test theories and starting to figure out which theory is the best. And if you remember, the scandal of the science at that time, which has persevered over the years, is that no theory was the best. It came down to the therapist.
Yes.
And so to this day, the common factors research teaches us that the best therapy doesn't exist. The best therapist exists, and you can give that therapist psychodynamic or CBT or SFBT or Gestalt, and they will kick ass.
I honestly thought you were going to say, and that therapist is me.
And, well, I was getting there. You stepped on my fucking line.
Way too soon, Nick.
Hold on.
Give
I brought
him
my trophies. But no, I mean, and the common factors research shows
recommended
us,
by Nick Tangeman.
Yeah, these are all, I've been endorsed by Nick on every trophy. But yeah, so Ryder, you know, Mike, when you're talking about which one of these things is best, we do have research that tells us that, hey, for anxiety disorders, boy, are we seeing that cognitive behavioral therapy is effective. Great. But we also have research that psychodynamic theories are effective. Yeah. And really, all the research says that the best therapists that have common core traits that they have used, no matter what theory we put in their hands, they will find a way to be effective. Yeah. And that's really that customized approach to the patient themselves. Yeah. Now, you're mentioning a lot of important theory in your question, like neuroplasticity, which is a biological fact that neuropathways, the brain itself, changes physically. The architecture of the brain actually changes, and it's doing it all the time based on experiences that you're having and patterns that are emerging in your behaviors and your thinkings. And all forms of therapy, whether they intended to or not, are affecting neuroplasticity. Yes, even psychodynamics, though they don't think that's the stated purpose of what they're trying to do. So the good news, Mike, is that all approaches, I think, are fundamentally good. And more important than selecting a theory is selecting a good therapist that you think you resonate with and that seems very human to you and appealing to you. But if you are interested in a particular theory, I think that's fine to shop for that. I've had lots of patients show up and say, hey, you mentioned in one of your thingies that you like CBT. I've heard that'll be good. I resonate with that. I'd like to learn that. Yeah. Great, let's go. And I've got other people that have, reached out to me and will say, hi, I'm interviewing therapists. Do you use this particular theory.
EMDR is one I got
Sure.
recently.
And it's like,
yeah.
oh, no, I don't. I don't use
Yeah.
that. I don't specialize in that.
Yeah.
Here's a colleague that does. Like,
Yeah.
great. Go
Yeah.
find what you're looking for. The good news is, Mike, that all of it works
Yeah.
if you're working with a good professional.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's a great message, actually. I know it confuses a lot of people because they wish there was just like a always gold standard. But yeah, whether you're targeting symptom resolution, as Nick and I trained to do a lot in addictions work, because we're not going to end somebody's heroin addiction by like reaching into their subconscious and one day they have an awakening epiphany moment and they're like, I have a moment of clarity. It turns out when I was 9, this thing happened and now that I'm addicted to black tar heroin. Like, no, like we need to deal with symptom resolution.
Well, even if that was the case.
Yeah, you're still
Because
addicted to
sometimes-
heroin.
The craving is still there.
Yeah,
Guess
'cause-
what? Your brain wants it right now.
I mean, for a lot of people,
It's reminding me
does-
why.
Yeah, it does have a root in trauma.
sure. Yeah, they're exactly.
But
yeah.
but us understanding that and even
Doesn't
us addressing
resolve
the
it.
trauma doesn't resolve the addiction because this is a biological addiction at this
Right,
point.
yeah.
Now we actually have to work on rewiring the brain. a
Right.
little
I might bust your kneecap with a baseball bat, and later on you realize that's what caused your limp, but you still got a limp and you've got to learn how to walk with a cane.
Exactly.
And so that's where I think therapy needs to be super adaptable in the present. I think it needs to be addressing the patient's real presenting concerns. I don't love theories that just allow the patient to endlessly go on a journey unless the patient is thriving in that environment. Because, and again, there's some therapists that really disagree with me on this. Jake's one of them. Jake and I have a philosophical disagreement about at what point you kick a patient out of therapy. And Jake,
I thought you were saying, at what point do you kick a patient?
yeah, when do you karate kick them right in the face?
bit. Right after hello.
What is your point, Jake?
Yeah.
A life
one.
coach.
I'm fine with all of this.
Yeah. Welcome to my office, right to the chest. Just quick forward Sparta kick.
This is Sparta.
But yeah, Jake's of the opinion that like as soon as the patient isn't like attacking and making immediate progress, it's time to, terminate treatment and let them come back later for another episode of care if they need it. Whereas my model, because it's not insurance based, I don't have to do that. I don't answer to a third party. I answer to the patient. And so if I have a patient that's like, yeah, I'm just going to stick around with you for years, and like they're getting something out of it and it's good for them, I believe in the patient's autonomy to choose their own healthcare, and they can choose whatever they want.
But you address that with them though, right?
We know what we're doing. Yeah, we know the
you're like,
treatment plan.
hey, let me go over the treatment plan
Yeah,
again.
what are
and
we here
you're
to
still-
do? And they'll
okay.
say, I'm here for maintenance. I'm
Yeah.
here because
Okay.
this is good for me and
I
this
think
is my
that's fair.
emotional yoga. And it's like, great.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you're getting what you want.
Yeah.
But that's also what's nice about not answering to a third party payer. I'm only answering to the patient. Like, everything is in their hands. So,
And if
What's
they don't
the-
like it, you'll kick them.
right in the chest.
What's the longest you've met with a patient outside
Like,
of
tenuously?
yeah.
I've had patients that, well, probably years. I mean, probably 3-4 years is probably the longest one. Because I've had a private practice since 2014. And it was
Okay.
always in the background. It was like a part-time practice
Oh, okay, yeah.
while I was working in addictions treatment.
Gotcha.
And then in 18, I went into it full time.
Okay.
So I've had patients but you'll work with them sporadically.
Oh, okay. It's
like-
not consistently every
right,
week for
yeah.
4 years.
So you'll have
Okay.
somebody that like you were seeing weekly for a year and a half, and then they faded away, and you saw
Yeah.
them quarterly. and you just
yeah.
didn't hear from them for a while, and they pop back in. They're like, "Hey, I think I kind of like my symptoms came out of remission, and
Yep.
like I'm just working on this
Yeah.
again." It's like, great, let's go. We
Yeah.
already have a relationship, so in that sense, it's like it never really ended, but
Yeah.
yeah, they're still around.
Question though, Jacob, do you still stand by your answer of yes?
You were a hard yes in the beginning.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm still fine with yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
All
Yeah.
in on yes.
Solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Solid. So, Mike,
Based on the parts of y'all's
I
answer that I listened to,
Yeah.
yes is still my answer.
Love it.
I know you thought you'd stump us, Mike, but you didn't.
Nice try. Nice try.
We're too good.
Too damn good at this. Trying to throw Jake Wiskerson at us. Go listen to Noggin Notes. I'll give him a free drop on that one. That's a good show. All right, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about a painful lack of sex. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Ouch.
Today's episode is brought to you by Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, who's getting married.
Yay!
And we need to draw their picture.
Oh, that's right.
I brought.
Oh, did you bring it?
I brought colored pencils.
Oh, this will be fun.
All right. Would you like to sponsor the show? And the rest of them: Kayla Lansbury, Cindy Ash, Kevin Chamberlain, Ben Stanley, Adam Hathaway, Myra, Lib. Hey yo,
All the rest.
Slurpee Kaye, motherfucker.
Remember earlier when Jim said you were good at this?
Yeah. Oh, was he talking about me?
Those were the days.
Those were the days.
Was that me? I didn't know that was okay.
Back at the high
All right.
point.
All right. Next question. I-80 truck stop. Question number 2.
Duck pin bowling.
Final answer.
About how many cups of coffee have been served since it was established
What?
in 1964?
Oh my God.
How many cups of coffee?
Oh my God.
A, 35,000. B, 350,000.
Oh my God.
C, 3.5 million.
Oh my God.
Easy.
D, 35 million. E, 350 million.
I want 350 million easily. I'm snatching that right out of the air.
What was the year it started?
I wish it'd go higher.
1964.
Guys, it's going to be like $1 million a year. Easily.
Okay, so
And
35
it's
million,
been 350 years.
I was told there would be no math.
1964.
When we started the show 6 years ago, you assured
How
me
old are you?
there would be no math. I feel betrayed and
You sit on a
lied to.
throne of lies.
He does.
All right, so you're saying
False promises.
You're saying E.
the biggest number available.
Okay.
I would like that.
What were the options?
Yeah, I need to
Okay,
read.
35,000.
Uh-huh.
Jacob's doing math. That can't be
350,000.
allowed.
I just calculated something real quick.
Yeah, that's called math, bitch.
Yeah.
350,000.
No.
3.5 million.
Uh-huh.
35 million. 350 million.
I'm going to be at 35 million.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
I'm torn between that one and the biggest one.
Nothing's right.
I'm gonna go with Jacob. I'm gonna go 35 million.
I'm gonna
Okay.
go 350. I'm with Jim.
All right, so Jim and Whitney are
Can't go
the
with
the
me.
most,
I am now.
and Nick and I are at the second most.
Yes.
We all agree it's in
350,000.
the millions.
Oh yeah, we all agree it's a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
Your average truck stop's got to be burning through 1,000 cups a day. Like, I mean, just
So
think about Lenwood, which is the only biggest truck stop I can think of. Like
But
What is
if they
Lenwood?
go through 1,000 cups a day,
Victorville. It's an
Oh.
exit.
how many cups is that over 60 years?
Oh, I refuse. I'm not even going to
My mental math says
'Cause I'll tell you,
350
a
million.
lot.
350 million.
Well,
It's 350 million.
dude, that's
Good news. One of us is 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Not
It's
me.
35 million.
I'm like,
Yeah,
it's not me.
So 60 years, 1 cup a minute comes out to 31.5 million.
1 cup a minute.
If they sell 1 cup a minute,
Guys, this is under. You think they're selling only 1 cup a minute?
no,
at
they're
the
selling a
world's
few. They're
largest
selling
truck
a little
stop?
more than 1 cup a minute because they're 35 million.
Yeah.
I
So they're selling more than a cup a minute.
I wanna
That's a
recount.
lot of
Take it up
coffee.
with the I-80 truck
If there,
stop.
we have to assume
Write a letter.
They need
there
to up
are
their
at
coffee
least
cups.
5 places to purchase coffee,
I mean,
and that they
still-
are selling at least 1 cup a minute on average.
I guess in all fairness, it's 1 truck stop.
It's 1 truck
But it's
stop.
the biggest truck stop in the world.
Also, that's 1 cup a minute
They have
for
a
24
movie
hours
theater.
a day, every day for 60 some odd years.
That's true. So they're open. Well, are they
you gotta
open?
figure
So like you're not going to
24
sell
hours?
at
Okay, I was like,
4
right.
a.m. You're not going to sell the same amount of coffee that you're going to sell at 7
Hell,
a.m.
you're not. You need that coffee more than ever.
Hell, you're not,
The
Jacob.
hell?
I didn't say you
The
wouldn't
hell
still
you're
sell
not.
coffee.
The hell you're
I
not.
said you're not going to sell the same amount.
You know what ruined it? It would be 350 million if Red Bull hadn't come out. I think
Right.
that's what it is.
That is probably true.
It is true. They were like, yeah, this coffee.
Yeah,
shit
how
is not
much
cutting it
coffee
anymore.
from 1960 to like 1990?
Right,
versus
right.
after?
That's the real number. Yeah, when did Red Bull come out? Like 97?
Wow.
That's what I want to know.
All right, moving on.
No, this is the topic I want to stay on now.
Jim's
I want to
gonna
continue to do
die on
math.
this hill.
Let's build an Excel spreadsheet around this. Painful lack of sex.
I mean, that's more than a cup a minute
I'm.
for 60 plus years.
I feel it is more than a cup a minute. There's a lot of
yes,
cups.
I agree.
That's a
He
lot.
doesn't just feel it; he knows it.
Yeah.
I know it.
It's
Jacob,
amazing.
Jacob,
It's 10.
As
It's
he's
10 a
reading
minute.
this, can you do the math
It's
on that?
10x.
350 million cups.
It's 10.
Oh,
It's 10
yeah.
a minute.
In-
It's 10x. Because it was 35 million for 1 a minute, so it's 10. It's 10 a minute.
Oh yeah, you just
Oh.
add a.
Right.
You guys impressed?
Look at it.
See
Look
how I
at
did
you.
that? I did
Yeah,
that in my
yeah, that
brain.
was.
Yeah.
Look at that brain.
I know.
Slow clap.
A lot of
Brava.
leather-bound books. Mostly they are the Bible. But there's some
Book of
others on the
Mormon?
shelf somewhere.
Like Book
I'm
of
sure.
Mormon? Anyone?
A few of those.
Yeah, but all the math
I'm a
in the Bible
collector.
is in like cubits, furlongs,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
however much lumber it took to
Yeah.
build the ark.
Yeah, man's foot to head ratio. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Also,
I
you have to
still
do the
think
math
there's
on how
more
long
coffee.
the lions wait after the ark lands before
Right,
they start
right.
eating like lions
everything,
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Vegetarian lions for a
I
thing
never thought
for
about
at least
that.
40 days, Jacob. They can fast.
No,
okay?
longer than that, because then you'll have 2 of every animal.
If they
so
were
if you eat those 2
hibernating-
animals, you've just driven that species.
Why have I
extinct.
never
All
thought about-
hibernating.
Sorry, Anonymous. We're pushing this question to the next
You know what?
episode.
Let's
We
get
got
into
stuff
the
to talk
Noah
about.
thing. That's what we need to talk about. Screw this next question about
All
painful
right.
lack of sex. We need to get into the logistics of Noah's Ark.
Okay.
Or the letter.
Patreon next episode.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
There you go.
Yes, there
that
you go.
gives us something to talk about while we draw Robert and
Oh, good.
Kate's
Yeah,
picture.
because we do need
Yeah.
to draw them their wedding picture.
Yeah.
Painful lack of sex. Hello, Pod Therapy people. New listener thanks to the AMA on Reddit.
Great.
Awesome. Welcome to the party. But I've already cleared a lot of your backlog, and
Damn.
Sorry.
I am a fan of what y'all are doing.
I believe we've gone on record many times saying, don't go listen to
Oh,
the backlog.
no, that is a terrible
Just start at episode 173.
Start on the next one. We'll get the next one right.
Or
Start at,
276.
if you're listening
273.
up to here, stop, abort. Let's go to the next one. You'll be better
Yeah.
off. I know the topic of waning sex life in a relationship is a well-worn topic, but I'm looking for advice as the one missing out on sex as to how I can cope while trying to be gracious and caring to my partner. We've been together for 8 years and seen a steady decline in our sex lives due to my partner. I'll shorthand their name as P for the rest of this, having lost most of their sex drive. We've talked about this, and P assures me that they still find me attractive and it's nothing I've done, and they're trying to find a therapist currently to work through anxiety issues. But this issue has been known and discussed between us for years, and I'm losing confidence that it will improve. I know they feel bad about it, and I do what I can to try to help both with intimacy and generally trying to make sure they feel ample support for my day-to-day and their non-sexual needs are met in the relationship. P is very sensitive about this issue and overall not comfortable talking mechanically about sex, which makes bringing my feelings up about it very difficult. Many attempts at solutions have been made, but it feels sometimes as though their heart or head isn't there yet. Rationally, I believe they want this to get better, and I'm personally aware and sympathetic to the walls anxiety can put up in one's life, but the lack of tangible steps taken is worrisome. You all very astutely put it that a lack of sex won't kill you, and it certainly hasn't so far, but it's absolutely taken a chunk out of my self-image, my self-worth, and when we do have sex, I have trouble mentally and emotionally buying in, because I now have so many feelings tied into it all, not to mention no one has a good first day skiing when the mountains finally reopen. That's a good metaphor.
That is a good metaphor.
All of this was a very long-winded way to ask this. I love P and am committed to finding a solution to this issue, but my patience is running shorter by the month, and the last thing I want to do is add another layer or aspect of stress onto P, knowing that will only make the libido issue worse. How do I cope with my growing frustration in this situation when I don't currently have someone I can talk to about this issue besides P? I have nothing more I can really say to them at this point beyond us not having sex still hurts me emotionally, which they already know. And boy, oh boy, an available therapist has been tough to find. Until I can find myself, or hopefully us, a therapist, do you have any tips on how I can adjust my thinking to not let this frustration worsen our issues? Thanks, Anonymous.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
We just need to get Jonathan on the show. We need to have a
I was
phone.
saying, come back.
Get a
we need
sex
to have a
therapist on here.
phone a
Let
friend.
me text him real quick.
Yeah. Because this is a great question, because here's the thing that I think makes this incredibly difficult is it's kind of one of those things where you've already had this conversation and it's hard to have the conversation just to start with. But then also the issue's not resolved, so the writer doesn't feel good about it. And then by bringing it up, it causes even more tension with the other person. So it's almost kind of like, almost like the more you talk about it, the more they're going to be thinking about it.
Right.
And then so it's almost kind of like, does it,
Well, yeah.
do you get to a point
Nobody
where
feels sexy when they're feeling insecure and
Exactly.
anxious about being sexy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so now we're openly talking about it, which makes the situation worse, and it kind of snowballs. And that's really tough, man.
I know. I think something that's kind of interesting to me is that they've been together for 8 years, and the writer says that there's been a steady decline in the libido of their partner P.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think it's valid to be a little frustrated that they're looking for a therapist. Like, how many years have they been looking for a therapist?
I know,
You know, like, I don't know.
Oh, it's very valid to be frustrated
Yeah,
that you can't find a
get
therapist. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, to be frustrated that I would feel like over 4, 5, 6 years, you should have maybe found one at some point, or maybe
Well, we
just
don't
seen more
know.
of that.
They might have started looking for one like 6 months ago.
Sure.
Yeah, but I guess if they're saying it's been, and that's what one of my questions was. I was wondering, like, how long has this been like a real issue? Because you're saying it's been declining over years, but is that like 2 years, or is that 6 years the whole time? Like, what? Yeah, but the frustration is definitely valid if there's been some span of years and there hasn't been the tangible, like, steps that you can see.
And here's another really interesting thing. So, Ryder, if you have the opportunity, I just did a deep dive, an interview with Jonathan Senda, sex therapist. One of the interesting things that he brought up that I never thought about is how COVID played a role in all of this. And COVID all of a sudden kind of started to open us up to working from home, which has been wonderful in a way. But when you have two partners both working from home.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And you have no separation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And he did talk about the Esther Perel's book and kind of use an analogy of like hitting two rocks together to create a spark. Like you have to put distance between them first and then bring them together.
Good point.
You can't do that when they're together.
Right.
And so having that distance sometimes can be really healthy. So I don't know if that's at all applicable in your situation, Ryder, but that may be one thing to kind of look at too.
Yeah.
Is there any way that you can create some healthy distance where maybe if that is the problem that you guys are just together all the time, that maybe you're able to get some space, be apart from each other, give yourself the opportunity to miss each other.
Yes.
You know, I think that that's really important.
Yeah, these are all really good points. And you know, this is something that I think, one, I want to acknowledge what the writer talks about where, hey, a lack of sex won't kill you, but like I'm in anguish, right? And like as therapists, I think we all want to acknowledge that and say, you know what? I'm glad you're talking about it because this is something that it's very easy as a society to minimize. It's very easy to be dismissive of it and just say, look, she doesn't want to have sex with you. Get over it.
Yeah.
You know, and like that is not a complete picture of humanity. That is not, I think, giving people the dignity of their experience. And if the writer is saying, this is hurting my heart, it is also not an unrealistic thing for me to desire in my partner. It is what I signed up for, and this has changed over time. It is hurting our relationship, and yet I hear the writer saying, look, I'm not being petty. I'm not angry. I'm not just yelling mean words. I am hurting. I still love this person. What the hell do we do?
See, and I don't think we got any pronouns with either.
No, we got none.
Because I assumed, in my mind, I was reading it, and you interpret P as a female, I interpret P as a male.
Right.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter because it happens in both cases.
Yeah.
I don't think
the
there's
surgeon
any...
was the boy's mother, Nick.
Don't turn
Oh,
this on
yeah.
me.
That was great.
But this happens in either direction,
Right.
Yeah.
It happens in straight, heterosexual, homosexual relationships. It happens all over. It could be any party.
Yeah.
Sex drive isn't limited to one gender or sex to the other.
Yeah.
Sometimes like medications play a part in that too.
So I was thinking medication. I was also thinking porn is big in that situation too.
Well, and Perel talks about this in Mating in Captivity. Perel talks about, first is like the familiarity paradox. That's important. Perel talks about communication and vulnerability and how to channel that for sexiness. And also the importance of fantasy and like bringing fantasy into the relationship so we can rediscover strangeness, so we can explore something that's unfamiliar to all parties with the purpose of feeling out of our element, with the purpose of feeling excitement and exhilaration for the road not traveled. And so the book, I think, Writer, is a great one to pick up, but I just want to validate this because this is an interesting situation. We had an earlier question that talked about a lack of passion, and we talked about normalizing, a relationship that may lack that. But I think what this writer's story is telling us is we have to be careful not to discount sexuality as some other thing. It's like, oh, so you like that? Cool, you can live without it. And like, it's tricky because there doesn't have to be a villain in the story. Like, P's not a villain, and the writer does not see P as a villain, but the writer is facing a painful lack of sex. And I think that anguish is real. And whenever somebody's hurting in that way, resentment can build really fast, and that can be really dangerous. But also, I don't want to just dismiss the writer and be like, well, tough shit. Like, no, obviously. But I think society often does, and I think therapists often do as well.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think to anybody who's listening to this, if your spouse or your partner comes to you and says that they're feeling sexually or not inadequate, but sexually deprived, unfulfilled, to not villainize that person and not say like, oh, like I'm not good enough for you, or what's not to, because it is something that you can easily take personally and you can be easily hurt by, but you need to validate, like, this is somebody who is opening up to you about something that is a concern.
Yes.
And we should thank that person.
Listen to Nick on this.
Thank you for telling me this. So now we can do something about it.
One of the worst mistakes you can make in any relationship, but especially romantic ones, your partner comes to you and tries out telling you the truth about something.
Yeah.
And then you teach them, never bring this to me again.
Yes.
Yeah, you kick them right in the mouth.
The kicking.
That's
back.
right. You teach your partner, I can't handle this.
Yes.
You should hide this for the rest of our relationship.
Right, yes.
Consequences are welcome.
Yeah.
That is a terrible idea. If I come to you and I say, hey, I'm having a problem in our sex life, and I'm being fair-minded, I'm being even-handed about it, and I'm being generous about it, and I'm being solution-focused about it, and you go, I can't talk about this. Never again. This makes me uncomfortable. Okay, even if that's your truth, you've still signed up for this, right? This is a consensual thing. We're all in agreement that we're trying to do this together.
You're teaching that person how to treat you.
So I'm not allowed to tell you about this anymore. So this opens a Pandora's box of new problems. Do you want me to talk to you about our sex life? Or do you want me to talk to her about our sex life? Because somebody's going to hear about it.
You want me to write in a pod there?
Right, I'm writing in a podcast. I'm getting blue-balled all the way to the podcast circuit. Like, it's a problem. So, like, we want relationships to be able to talk about this. But, again, to the writer, you have so little power in this, right? Because you've tried all the channels already. I've tried to talk to my partner. That road is blocked. My partner is uncomfortable trying to set up. So, like, one thing, if you were doing sex therapy or couples therapy in this case, because I'm not a sex therapist, but I'll do couples therapy. When I have two people, I'll talk to P, and the first thing I'm going to use as a therapist is motivational interviewing. And so the first thing I need to figure out is, are you willing to move a little bit with this? Where is the area of leverage? And usually it's like, well, I don't want to lose the relationship. I'm like, okay, great. Do you agree that this is a valid thing for your partner to want and that it's good that they desire you? Yes. Okay. Now we're starting to investigate what is the realm of possibilities you're open to. And what I'm really hoping to get them to is tasking. Can I get you to a place where you're willing to try activities that may help? Little baby steps. I'm not talking about sexual intercourse. I'm just talking about, what about you by yourself listening to an erotic novel? Would you be willing to give that a try? A short story, a little 5-minute short story. Would you be willing to give that a try and see what that does? A sexual limerick.
There once was a man from Nantucket.
Oh, baby. Oh, no, not here. Not in front of everybody. You know what that Nantucket shit does to me.
Nick's really good at this.
Can we get something moving, right? And if we can get something in task-based, that's usually a good place to start. Because some people will be like, look, I don't know how to recapture my sex drive, or the anxiety is really getting to me. And again, I don't want to reach down and try to solve the anxiety to reach the sex. That's such a circuitous route to get to solving the problem. And it's unreasonable to ask your partner, like, hey, just hang in there until I am 100% mentally healthy.
Yeah.
Nobody can do it, realistically, or they can, but it's going to be an unsatisfying relationship.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I think you're definitely on the right track, Jim, because from meeting with Jonathan, we will staff cases at times together, and those are definitely avenues that he generally will recommend. Like basically thinking outside the box. What are ways that you can maybe spark something different and not just the traditional way that we're all used to? Like, okay, you're naked in front of me now. Like, let's go.
Well,
it's like,
and what I'm about to say is probably going to be controversial, and won't be the first time. But there needs to be a conversation, probably between P and P's therapist, where if I was just P's individual therapist or I was the couple's therapist, at some point I would do an individual session with P, and I would have this conversation of, do you need to be interested in sex in order to meet your partner's sexual needs? What are your thoughts on that? And I would invite P to reflect upon this idea of, I might not be into this, but I've still signed up for this, and I want my partner to be sexually happy. Am I prepared to play? Can I perform?
Yeah, what's my boundary?
What is my boundary? And that we should talk about that.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to tell P what that should be. I'm here to discover with P where there is maybe some overlap, because that could be the beginning of that middle ground of finding.
Yes.
But then another thing is coming back to tasks, writer, and anybody out there that's struggling with this. A good app that I really like is Love Nudge. We've talked about it before on the show. It's one of my favorites. It plays with the idea of love languages, but then it also gives people suggestions and ways to hold themselves accountable for doing something that is in alignment with your partner's love language. So if your partner's saying, look,
cool.
I need more physical attention from you, the thing will give you an entire directory of suggestions, and many of them being non-sexual, and many of them maybe just being the beginning of like stuff, but it's touching that need a little bit. And so there's plenty of suggestions and the ability to like keep yourself accountable with little reminders and completing the little tasks. So at the end of the day, writer, you do not have control over your partner. If your partner says, look, I love you, I feel for you, 90% of our relationship's great, but I can't budge on this 10%. It doesn't exist anymore. It never will. That is a very hard place to face. And it goes back to the first question that we received in this episode, which is, okay, so when that's not coming back, now what?
Yeah.
And that's a very individual conversation that you probably do need to have with a therapist.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
Big
at the end of the
questions.
day, it's really up to you. If I hear you saying that you're kind of reaching like your wit's end, your partner definitely has the autonomy to decide what they're comfortable with, but so do you. And that's, I think, all relationships, whether it's sex or not. Like, hey, are you okay with A because I want B? Oh, you're okay with part of B. Am I okay with doing part of B and not all of B that I want to do?
Right.
You know, that's normal, whether it's sexual or not. Like,
that's
Right.
part of just being in a relationship.
Yeah.
Another theory, have either of you done much work with EFT, emotionally focused therapy?
I have
I haven't done any work with it, but I've
Familiar with it?
familiar with it. Yeah.
So I listened to a
I
really...
believe it's pronounced.
if it...
Jacob's the expert.
Yeah.
Life coach Jacob.
I listened to a really great podcast, and I should probably reference it because they're out there. They're not number 3 overall in good pods, like
Damn.
some podcasts I know. But it's called Being Well with Forrest Hansen and Dr. Rick Hansen. And in a recent episode, they actually had Dr. Sue Johnson, the author
Dr.
of
Sue.
EFT. and boy, can you listen to Dr. Johnson go. I mean,
Sex
Sue
with
Johnson,
Sue. Wasn't that her
she don't
show?
mess around. Like she'll just go. She's British. She's so much fun to listen to. Just very good. You can tell she's a damn good therapist and a great theorist. But Sue Johnson talks a lot about that in that episode, where Sue explores this idea of like transactional relationship theory that we've landed on, I think, a lot in couples work, which is like, I'll do X if you do Y. And like, but in talking about needs and stuff like that and love languages is very transactional. And Sue, I don't think has an issue with that, but Sue really wants to explore the behind the scenes of why you even have those needs and like get to the emotions you feel because of them and get to that place of vulnerability, which Sue believes parlays back into what Sue calls a hold me tight moment of reigniting bonding. So that would be a great area to explore too.
That's awesome.
And I'd recommend that book actually, Dr. Sue Johnson, Hold Me Tight. That could be a really great book for you to explore as well, writer. So
Hold me closer, Dr. Sue Johnson.
we are at the end of the show. And hey, as we wrap it up, we just want to remind you, go to patreon.com/therapy. You can get the extended show that you always hear us laughing about as we're starting this episode or all episodes. You get it a day earlier than on Thursday. You start getting it on Wednesdays and you get it completely advertisement free. You also get added to our live Discord chat if you want to, where you can chat about episodes or about everything in life with all the other listeners of the show. Every Monday, we also release Bonus content. This week, we released a discussion of AI, artificial intelligence, as a therapist, and what the future of that's probably going to be, and just kind of exploring and discussing that. And there's always new content coming out every week. So check it out. It's at patreon.com/therapy. If you're not much of a techie and you're kind of like, I would do it, but I don't really know how that works, get in there, and right at the top, we tell you exactly how to just touch a few buttons, and you'll get this, the extra content delivered to the same podcast app that you're using right now. You don't have to download anything extra. It all just pumps right through to the same app you're using right now. So patreon.com/therapy. But as we wrap up the show, we've got some new people to thank. Some new theropods have joined the mix. Who's joined us, Nick?
Yeah, big welcome to Ryan Christensen.
I think it's pronounced Christensen.
I disagree.
I believe it's pronounced
Christiansen?
Ryan.
That's it.
Ryan. And welcome, Travis.
Thanks, Travis, for having an easy name to pronounce. We also want to thank our partner, Dirty B, and our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, the Theraproducers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Smitty Scoop, Ben Dawn, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Dr. and Mr. Hot Dog Scoop, Malia, Leon Kassab, Cindy Ash, Mason Miller, Richard Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley, Slappin' Ya Face, Polygon, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, University Jeff, Mike Helm, Myra, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, and Slurpee-Ki-Yay, motherfucker.
And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects,
Nailed it.
Great.
go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
281
He's so
episodes
good at
in.
this.
That's so
Shut
good.
the
That's
fuck
all
up.
the time we got for this week's session. Want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast. And thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, Pod Therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share this episode. Tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Twitter and Instagram, /PodTherapy on Facebook. And don't forget about the goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Whitney.
I'm spicy.
I'm Nick.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week. Okay. Last question. Double or nothing.
All right.
How many truck parking spots are there? We'll go. There's no
In this truck stop.
Yeah, no multiple choice.
Price is Right
That's
rules?
the
Price is right
Price
rules.
is
Closes without going over.
Yep.
You got to figure 35 million cups of coffee.